Striking Out, written by Christopher Morlock, narrated by B.J. Harrison. This guy from the cutting crew entered a terminal state whenever A, it was after sunset, and B, he was held by you. Cindy stood by the yellow fridge, sipping a can of her precious Dr. Pepper, and pretended not to notice him. The dishwashing session had been tense and quiet. Pink-cheeked Mike had once more done most of the work. Calvin shut the door behind him and walked over to the automatic dish machine, a large contraption with 2 sets of doors to allow racks to be slid in and out simultaneously. The far side of the machine was unspoiled by soap resin and watermarks. As Cindy had said, it quite nicely doubled as a mirror. And what a sight. Face haggard, lip and nose swollen, still carrying a twinge of pain, much like sticking a tongue on a dying 9-volt battery's terminals. Icky hair pushed down over forehead and ears to cover his bandage and gauze. He carefully experimented with pulling his long hair back as he normally wore it. The locks stuck to his fingers queasily. He hadn't washed his hair since Saturday night, and made to instantly remedy that, he turned on the triple sinks tap. Cindy came over to him. "Turn around." Calvin's mouth opened. "Don't talk." His mouth shut. He turned around, his back to the sinks. She set her soda can on the icky shelf above the sinks and used her hands to guide him into position. "Now lean back," she bade him. His skin was alive, tingling and hot. He couldn't believe this was happening, whatever it was. He leaned back as told. She turned to face the sinks and put a hand on his chest to push him back. "Further down," she said. She meant to put his head backward in the sink so the tap would run water down his scalp like at a hair salon's washing station. He bent his knees and reached back to grab the sink edge for leverage. During this maneuver, his left hand bumped into her lower back. She calmly moved his hand to its proper destination, which made his underarm brush against her belly. "Almost there," she said. "I'll try to keep it off your forehead." He looked at the grease-spotted ceiling. Flickering fluorescence tickled his eyes. She pulled the long bits of his hair away from his head and fluttered them in and out of the steaming jet of water. "No shampoo like Dawn, right?" she said. "Don't talk." He felt pressure on the roots. She may have been pulling his hair apart or scrubbing it. Drops of near-boiling water sprayed on his forehead and the back of his neck, but he gritted his teeth and silently endured their heat. "You're doing great," she purred. "Almost done." She moved closer to scrub the hair on the back of his head, and now her hip dug into his ribs, and his view of the ceiling suddenly included what might have been a bit of t-shirt-covered breast. He tightened his grip on the sink edge and locked his leg muscles so he wouldn't slip, and commanded his cock to stop hardening. He didn't know how much longer he could. She slapped the tap off. "All done," she said, squeezing out his hair one last time. She went to fetch a roll of paper towels. Slowly, Calvin untwisted himself to stand normally. His back smarted, and the wet hair was hot on his neck. He felt the water soaking into the back of his t-shirt. After drying her hands, Cindy held up the used paper towel, pink-brown from soda and blood. "Gross me out," she declared, handing him the roll. "I can't believe I just did that." "Neither can I. Thank you." Calvin smiled, running some towels through his locks. "I tried to keep the bandage dry. Why do you have it?" "Just a flesh wound. Even with your hair pulled down, everyone could see it." Her black eyebrows curled. "I couldn't let you keep walking around with that filthy hair anymore, though." She laughed. "If there's one thing I can't figure about you, it's that you're not vain about your looks." Calvin shrugged. "Except when Gore forces me to." "Gore blows." She took off her cap. "Here, try this instead." Gracefully, Calvin accepted the whaler's cap and adjusted it to fit his head. He pushed back his damp hair, slipped it on, and looked at himself in the dish machine's mirror. "Can still see the wrapping from behind," she pointed out. "But it does the job up front." Calvin smiled at himself. He looked normal. He took off the cap and made to hand it back. "You can keep that," she said. "But this is all you have from your last Fuck him and his hat. I'm better off without it." "Thanks. Again. I keep saying that." Cindy hoisted herself up on the dishroom's stainless steel table to sit with her short legs dangling. Her eyes told a tale of weary feet. "No problem. I think I'll let my hair flow in the breeze." "Good for you, Cindy." The lad from New Order spun a tale about this nervous dude who genuflected whenever he saw his mate putting the theory of gravity to the test. Cindy, she burped, laughter exploding out. So weird to have a normal name for a change. Her brown eyes smiled at him. Why'd you pick Cindy? Just popped in my head. I used to have the hots for this girl named Cindy in my school. More laughs. I'm sorry, it's just so weird to hear I have the hots in your accent. Everyone loves an Irish brogue, he nodded, rolling her eyes. Do they? So let me guess. Your Cindy was blonde hair, big boobs? No, black hair, like yours used to be. And her boobs are underdeveloped. His mind drifted. Blonde hair, big boobs. That's such a shite stereotype, Cindy. Shite, she tittered to herself. I mean it. Not every lad looks for blonde hair, big boobs. But every lad looks at blonde hair, big boobs. Deny that. I deny nothing, he chortled. She raised a warning finger. Spare me your next line about how perfect I am. An aloof grin grew on her lips. Calvin let a pause go by. Not sure how you knew, but always the thing you guys say. Guy looks at the TV. Brooke Shields is hot. Then Guy looks over at me. Not as hot as you, though. You're perfect. Huh, was all Calvin had for that. Guess it is predictable. It's corny, is what it is, Cindy said. He looked at her aloof face. It's a shame. What's a shame? In a few days we'll go home, and I'll never see you again. You're the most perfect girl I've ever met. I'll miss seeing you. Her jaw dropped. Okay. Less corny, but more sleazy. That's not fair, Calvin coughed, letting his emotions run free. You asked me to spare you the corny lines, and you just said it anyway, so how's that sparing it? I had a legit reason why I said it. Please listen to the words I say, Cindy. It's totally worth it. Desperately trying not to laugh. I get it. But why Cindy? If I'm the most perfect girl ever, but your Cindy from school is an underdeveloped plain Jane, why use her name? Plain Jane. I like that. Some lads call our Cindy Sigourney behind her back because she looks like the woman in Ghostbusters. Now, why would you have the hots for a girl who looked like Sigourney Weaver, Calvin? Because I liked her, and I come on to women I like. Before he could stop himself, she was a girl onto which I tried to come. She almost shit. Did this guy just really structure his sentence that way? You did that on purpose, she whooped. It's not just dork talk, but like porno dork talk. Come onto her, like hitting on her, then come onto her. She mimed jerking off. He flashed his shite-eating grin, which she nearly fell for. You want to have English class or hear my story? Concerned she was laughing too much, Cindy choked the latest batch back. Your story? What's her whole name? Cindy McKee. And what'd you guys do on your first date? We never went out. After months chatting her up, I got bored of her not taking an interest in me. So you were obsessed with her? Hanging out below her bedroom window like Romeo? Whatever, I just moved on. I have a girlfriend, you know. Maybe you do, Cindy smirked. Or maybe not. Maybe her name is Jenny. Jenny, who did take an interest in you. She did. Why'd Jenny say yes but Sigourney say no? Calvin bit his lip. Jenny liked me, I guess. Our very first conversation was an argument in gym class, and it was obvious she liked the way I fought back. We just clicked. There's more to it than that, Cindy intoned. How long you two been going out? Since February. That's when she moved to my town. There's the answer. You ain't the only detective, Sherlock. Cindy peeked up to explain her deduction. Cindy McKee knew you from years of being at the same school. This Jenny was brand new to your act, your accent, your confident way of speaking. She waved a hand up and down at him. This whole thing you do, Calvin. You make me sound like a carnival freak. And you're assuming I'm the only boy from Ireland in my school. Stop it, she barked. Jenny probably just felt grateful that some guy was standing up to her, instead of all fawning and drooling and offering to show the new girl around town. Explain why we're still dating, Calvin challenged. My act, the whole thing I do, would have gotten old fast, right? Maybe you're more than that, flapped Cindy. Maybe you're a great kisser with a huge dong. That'd keep her coming back. And that would get old fast too, Calvin laughed. Admit it. A particular member of Genesis wanted to alter things, but couldn't, since he was at a depth over his hand. Sounds like you got lucky, Calvin. I bet Jenny's a real cunt. that no one else at school even likes her. That's, a good guess, but I don't care what people say about her. A fading smile. You sound like my ma. She thinks Jenny latched on to me too quickly, so everyone would talk about her, make her instantly popular. In other words, using you. What bollocks. What? Bollocks. Bullshit. I don't put up with people like that. Fakers and users. Jenny says she likes how I don't give a crap what others think, that I make my own waves. Tell me, is that something a user would say? Yes, Cindy admonished, genuinely concerned. Jenny's using you just right, Calvin. Users always make the people they use feel like they're the most important person in the world. What do you know? Calvin said dismissively. Oh, I know. I know enough. How old are you? 14. 14? Shit! I thought you were older than me, like 16 or something. Well, I'd keep an eye on this Jenny if I were you. And don't get too attached. Is she hot? Blonde hair, big boobs. I'm the envy of my grade. Cindy's whole body bucked, as if to say, bullshit. Out came Calvin's leather wallet again. Gonna pay me to believe you? Cindy teased. Shut up, Calvin said. He poked through the wallet and found half of a photo booth strip. 2 black and white frames of Calvin hugging and mugging with a bright-eyed blonde bombshell of a teenage girl. He handed it over with relish. Cindy looked the photo strip over for a long moment. She examined the back, then ran her finger along the torn bottom edge. She handed it back without a word, then looked away. Calvin put the photo in his wallet and became aware of her mood change. Clearly, he'd fucked up at the end there.